Geometry students, today is lesson 1 of unit 1. Big questions today. What are the learning targets that we're trying to get at? Well, number 1, identify and draw three-dimensional shapes and their nets. And then number 2, second thing that you'll be tested on is creating orthographic drawings from isometric images. So obviously there's a lot of kind of big words here. What do those all mean? So number 1, what is a net? Well, a net is a three-dimensional object drawn in 2 dimensions. Okay? So if you have, say, like we'll try a super simple object like a cube. Okay, you take the cube that's 3-dimensional, and then you go ahead and you kind of flatten it out. If you could imagine kind of taking a box, like a tissue box, which isn't necessarily a cube, but you take it and then you just cut along all the edges, well, then it might look a little something like this, where you had some sides and then up like that. So if you fold along those edges, you would regain your 3-dimensional piece. Now, one thing you got to know about nets is all these things have to be connected. You can't just cut it up and have 6 different squares. Okay, that doesn't count as a net. Okay, you have to have them all connected. An isometric drawing is basically a 3D drawing on an isometric dot grid. And so it's a special kind of 3D drawing. In an isometric dot grid, you've probably seen this before at some point, but it kind of has these staggered dots like this. And having these staggered dots allows us to draw cubes a little bit easier. And so you'll kind of connect these here like that, and you wind up being able to draw cubes. So most of the time, isometric drawings are just collections of cubes. Now, orthographic, what is an orthographic drawing? Well, an orthographic drawing is actually 3 different drawings. It's the same shape, but it's drawn from 3 different views. You've got the front view, you've got the top view, and then you've got from the side. Typically the right side is what we look at this from. And so if you had a 3-dimensional drawing, a lot of times we'll do this with isometric shapes, but if you had any drawing, maybe make it a cylinder. What would a cylinder look like from the front, from the top, and from the side? Well, from the front, if all you saw in 2 dimensions of a cylinder, well, it'd just be this. You couldn't see any of the depth behind it. If you looked at it from the top, well, all you would see would be a circle. And then if you looked at it from the right-hand side, well, again, you would just see a rectangle. So we'll see a few more examples of that, but basically that's what it is. You're looking at something from multiple views. All right, so example 1 here. And this corresponds to the first learning target. Draw a net for a cereal box that is 7 inches, so 7 inches by 2 inches by 12 inches. So my kids love Kix. Couldn't get Kix in Korea, so now we have Kix all the time. All right, so typically what I would do if I had to draw a net for this shape is I would start with the bottom, and the bottom here would be a 2 by 7 rectangle. So 2 by 7. And then kind of from here, how would it fold out? Well, connected to the base, I've got my 4 different sides. And so over here, I kind of have I've got a long deal like this, and I have a similarly long deal like that. And so this would be the 2 by 12 rectangles that we've got. And then we've got the big part, the part that actually says Kix on it, and that would kind of be these big ones here. And that would be 7 by 12. Okay. And then at the very top, we've got another one of those small rectangles, the 7 by 2. And so you can put that over here, maybe it's 7 by 2. And there's different ways that we could do this. This isn't the only one, but if we do fold along all of these lines, we're gonna get that original rectangle. If you can't fold along those lines and get your original box, well then you did it wrong. All right, so again, what is the isometric drawing of the cube below? So take this shape right here. This is a 3D shape, but it's not an isometric shape. And so we need to figure out how to do that. Well, let's see. I guess first of all, if we went ahead and here what we see is the front on our shape right here, but we can't really draw the front of this necessarily like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start collecting things and creating your shapes. So let's see if we just kind of connect our dots here. Here would be an example of the front of our box. Now you can see it kind of is going to force it the other way if we did this. And so if we kind of connect these guys right here, probably double the length there, right? We can see that we're only going to have that one down the middle, and then off to the side, we're going to have these, and we'll connect there. Right? So we've got kind of that 4 part in the middle, and then we've got the longer lines in the back. All right. So this relates directly to the second learning target. Draw the front, right, and top view for this isometric drawing. So we've got the isometric drawing. It's there on the isometric grid. We know that this is the front, and this is the right, and so obviously the top would be from up here. And so we need to draw in each one of the views. So from the top, well, what are you going to see? All you're going to see is this, this, and this. And so that's going to just wind up being 3 squares. If you take a look at it from the front, well, you're going to see more than that. You're actually going to see the top cube right here, and so we can draw that out. And then from the right, you got to be just a little bit careful here. A lot of times students will just say, the thing that's closest to them, but they forget that they can actually see this part right here as well. And so when we draw that, we're just going to have 2 stacked squares. So that's pretty much it.